Vivos, losec, vinosec, how to step. They chased the receding waves and ran away from the coming ones. The cousins enjoyed the time they had to themselves. Get back here, Maria. You won't get off easy this time. Yeah. No way, no way. You'll get hurt if you fall. Be careful, you two. Feels like the wind's gotten stronger. Maybe we should head back soon. You're right. I think the sky's getting cloudier too. Battler-kun, Maria-chan, I think we should call it a day soon and head back to the guest house for the time being. Ooh, no way. I want to play more. Hey, don't ignore your cousin. Okay, that's all for now. Here, I'll give you my glass gem. Ooh, really? Thank you, Battler. Now I have the most, so I win. Ooh. Angie, are you okay? Yeah. What's wrong, Angie? You look a little down. She's just tired out. Come on, let's all head back together. Angie's expression probably did look tired. However, Battler alone thought he saw something else in it. What's wrong? Can you tell me? It's nothing. She said that, but something in her expression showed that she was unsatisfied for some reason. Since Angie didn't say what it was and Battler couldn't think of anything, he was unable to guess anymore, so he squeezed her small hand, silently letting her know that she could tell him whenever she was ready. Even though it had seemed like such a bright, sunny day a second ago, the sky turned gray and the winds started to feel more annoying than pleasant. If they waited around, they would probably see scattered raindrops as well soon. I guess it'll be raining the whole time from now on. What a pain. Still, even though it didn't last long, it was fun to be a kid again. I can't wait to show Mama this glass gem. I'm gonna tell her I won. Yee? Even though you only won because I gave you mine. Are we going with a tale where everyone lives happily and everyone's gets along and loves each other, but then Angie goes sleepwalking, and Ava sees her and runs after her so she doesn't get lost. But then the explosions from the base accidentally go off, killing everyone, and that's why they're the only survivors. Ooh, I got it, so it's mine. So I won. Ooh. Angie walked distractedly, pulled along by her brother. George and the others thought that she had probably woken up too early and was tired, so they didn't try to talk to her much. As they reached the end of the forested path, the rose garden lay before them. They could see strong winds making the rose bushes wave. That actually sounds like it looks beautiful. Mama, look! I won! Maria ran forward, waving her hands about and yelling. It looked as though Rosa was waving to them from the front of the guest house. I'm gonna head back to my room for a sec. I'll meet you in the cousin room right after. Okay, got it. See you later then. Jessica ran off in the direction of the mansion. George turned around as though suggesting that they had better get going too. However, when he saw Angie standing still with a crabby look on her face, he realized that something might have put her into a bad mood. Is everything okay? Yeah, she's fine. Sorry, but would you mind going on ahead of us? Sure, got it. See you later. George headed for the guest house. The only ones left in the rose garden were Battler, who was waving at George, and Angie, who was still staring at the ground and holding Battler's hand. For the past 2 minutes, he had repeatedly asked Angie what was wrong. He realized that this wasn't anything like a stomachache or something obvious that had made her grumpy. However, young girls sometimes get upset for reasons that only they can understand. Battler knew this, so he didn't rush her in any way, and continued to gaze around the beautiful rose garden holding her hand. Oni-chan? What is it? Where are we? She asked the question as though she was talking about something on the other side of the silver screen. Though Battler understood what that question meant, he played dumb. Where are we? We're on Rockenjima, right? You're wrong. No, I'm not. How is this Rockenjima? It's the Rockenjima of October 4th, 1986. The Rockenjima you've wanted to see for so long. That's a lie. Why do you say that? This is totally fake. Angie wrenched her hand from her brother's grip. That hand hit a rose and sent the flower petals flying. I don't lie. How is this supposed to be the truth? Angie spat those words out. However, Battler's expression remained calm and composed. What don't you like about it? Ushiromiya Kinzo, for example. He wasn't anything like that, right? What grandfather wouldn't smile when he's reunited with grandchildren after a long time, huh? I mean, he'd have to be a fucking dick. Ushiromiya Kinzo wasn't that kind of person. Ushiromiya Kinzo was strict, discontented, short-tempered, and quick to anger. He was a fucking ornery old bastard. So you do understand. What was all that back there? How was that supposed to be Ushiromiya Kinzo? Halloween? Exchanging presents? What the hell was that? That's nothing like Ushiromiya Kinzo. This is nothing like Rockenjima. Don't you remember, Angie? The completely unloving, abusive guy who actually would punch all of his children. The swindler, bitch, beats her daughter, has psychosis, the fact that she's always abandoned by her mother and beaten, always talks shit about Battler's dead mom, and is always plotting something, has an inferiority complex, tries to always impress everyone, severe social anxiety, just tends to be off to himself. These guys really aren't much different than normal. Remember what? We did that every year, didn't we? Every year. That. Well, I guess it's no surprise. The last time you went to a family conference, you were less than 6 years old, so it's only natural that you wouldn't remember. It's only natural that I don't remember. Angie understood what her brother was trying to say. However, she couldn't accept it. It's true that Ushiromiya Kinzo was a rigid man. When he was younger, he was really strict with his kids, apparently. And, well, it's probably not wrong to say that it was pretty traumatic for Dad and the others, and that they still are a bit scared of him. The grand tale of how Kinzo restored the Ushiromiya family was more than enough to paint him as a rigid, terrifying man. Furthermore, Kinzo was an investor. All the legends and tales that made him seem more mysterious had probably worked in his business's favor. At times, Kinzo may even have acted out this part people expected, endeavoring to make his presence all the more overpowering. That's why the world at large spoke of Ushiromiya Kinzo as a strict, short-tempered man, and they even thought of him as fickle, bold, incomprehensible, eccentric. But that was just the face grandfather showed to the world. That's not how he acted in private, alone with his family. Are you saying that weeping old man who doted on his grandchildren is the real Ushiromi Kenzo? He must have played with you and patted your head many times. I think if I ever do date anyone, I would like it if they were doting to me. You know, just very affectionate and uncritically fond of me and accepting. I don't know. Do you really not remember? Stuff like that might have happened once or twice, but that must have been a mere whim of his. My parents told me all the time, grandfather's a terrifying person, so make sure you act properly. They always said that he's very scary, so take care. And that means he was a scary person. When you were little, you would always accept whatever your parents said and take it too seriously. To put it nicely, you were obedient, but to put it bluntly, you were a kid with an overactive imagination. Dad and the others were just trying to make you realize how important it was to be polite. I saw it though. I knew about it. I knew that Ushiromi Kenzo was a scary person. I've even seen him yelling in anger. I'll never forget it. Well, like you saw just now, grandfather could be a bit abrupt at times. He might have just been trying to surprise you, or it might have slipped out when he was having a serious discussion with his kids. And you think I just got scared for no reason and got the wrong idea? That can't be true. I mean, I still remember it. I know I saw Ushiromi Kenzo yelling and being scary. Mom and Dad were terrified too, so I know I'm right. The impression you had of grandfather when you were young remained with you, and that impression grew inside you as you grew up. How many times did Angie see Kenzo in her life? How old was she last time she saw him? Angie, who got sick easily when under pressure, couldn't have gone to Rokkenjima often. And since she was absent for the family conference when she was 6, her last memories of him must have come from when she was just 5 years old. But even you haven't seen Ushiromi Kenzo for 6 years. That's right. But when I finally came back after 6 years, I saw that grandfather hadn't changed in the slightest. Kenzo was fickle, so you could never understand what he was thinking, and he was an eccentric with a creepy love for the occult, and it's true that he had a love for the occult. Yeah, it was a bit of a strange hobby for him to get into in his final years. I'll admit that his hobby of collecting strange objects to scare his grandchildren and laugh at them wasn't exactly praiseworthy. Even Battler had been pranked by Kenzo in the past. He'd do things like showing off an attache case with 7 strange stakes in it, and say something about how they once were used in Middle Ages to gouge the hearts of victims in a witch's ceremony. When Kenzo did things like that, it was pretty scary, but looking back on it now, they really were childish pranks. And since Battler hadn't shown up for 6 years, it means Kenzo would have done that when he was 12 at oldest, but more likely 9, 10, 11. Grandfather only scared his grandchildren because he wanted to joke around with them. I'd be willing to bet that grandfather pulled a prank like that on you too. It's no surprise, young as you were, you let that scare you and convince you that grandfather was a strange, terrifying person. I don't know what you're talking about, Oni-chan. Angie bit her lower lip and stared at the ground. She said she didn't understand, but in truth she understood perfectly, and was refusing to accept it. Remember how we traded Halloween presents in the parlor just now? What was that all about? The Ushiromi family never did anything that sentimental. It's almost as though you don't remember it at all. Are you saying I got presents once too? I don't remember anything like that. That could never happen. Do you really think that grandfather, a man who loved the occult Western traditions, wouldn't celebrate Halloween? Grandfather's Happy Halloween was pretty much the standard greeting at our family conferences. He must have said it to you too. Youth can be so cruel. Even though grandfather put all his heart into choosing the presents, it looks like your heart didn't remember anything. Are you saying that I was just too young to remember, and that was the truth of October 4th? On that day, just like 6 years before, grandfather entered the parlor with a cry of Happy Halloween. Then, he and I traded presents as he shed tears over our long-awaited reunion after a 6-year gap. Grandfather seemed so sad that Angie wasn't able to come. So he gave Kyrie a present, telling her to make sure that Angie got it. I never heard anything about a present like that. Mom never gave it to me. True, she never had the chance. I don't believe it. I won't believe that was Ushiromi Kenzo. Then what about the family conference itself? Wasn't there a tense argument over the distribution of the inheritance? All of the adult siblings were in money trouble. That's why they all longed for Kenzo's inheritance money. Angie, where did you hear that from? What do you mean, where? It's the truth, isn't it? Do you think Dad would talk to you about financial difficulties with his company when you were at that age? And not just Dad. Even if Uncle Krauss, Aunt Ava, and Aunt Rosa were in the money trouble and wanted Kenzo's inheritance money, do you really think they'd talk about it in front of you? But it's true, isn't it? In the end, it was true. Angie's words were not mistaken. Not only Rudolph, but even Krauss, Hideyoshi, and Rosa had companies in money trouble. People started talking about the Rokkenjima explosion accident as though it was some sort of conspiracy, and a mystery imagined by the public covered the island. Weekly magazines and television shows researched the circumstances of Kenzo's children all the time, and in the future where Angie lived, that research had been made public. You learned about all of that after 1986. But it's a fact, isn't it? There's no difference between facts and truth. Does that prove that the inheritance created a strained atmosphere between the relatives in Rokkenjima? I guess that might fit with your memory of your parents telling you repeatedly to be extra polite at the family conference. Are you saying that what I know about Rokkenjima, what I know about Ushiromi family is wrong? You're the one who's wrong, Oni-chan. There's no way something like that could be possible. I won't accept that. That was Ushiromi Kenzo. I could never accept that. So you don't believe, Angie? That's right, I don't believe. I don't understand why you're showing me something like this. After all, this is your game. No, your game board, isn't it? First, it was Beato and Byrne. One witch after another has sneered at my fate, trying to make me surrender in their games. But I want the truth. Which illusions won't work on me. Now I get it, you damn witches. So, you've sent Oni-chan as a final assassin to finish me off. You're right. This is my game. After all, the first 4 episodes 1, 2, 3, and 4 were Beato or Beatrice's game. Game 5 was ran by Lambda Delta. Game 6 was Battler. Game 7 was technically a Byrne Castell, though that was partly the funeral and partly the story of the whole family solving the riddle together, plus the ulterior where you had Leon Ushiromi and Willard Van Dyne, who were also, again, in the parallel space where, again, the whole family's, all the adult siblings solved the epitaph riddle together. However, technically Game 6, Battler had a game. And while Fruto Erica, not stowaway, but the person who fell off that cruise ship, kind of ruined the whole thing and turned it into a very horrible circumstance. Battler's game was set up on the idea of this. A silly outsider who fell off a cruise ship and washed up on the island during the typhoon was kind of being a rude bitch and bragging about being a detective and shit, and be able to read all these stories. So Battler, Kyrie, and Natsui, and Ava, and Rosa, And I think someone else, can't remember, all played a prank where they pretended to be in a closed room murder mystery where all 6 of them had died. But no one was dead. And they were all just, the entire family was in on it, and they were just pranking Erica. However, then Erica turned out to be a serial killer that had washed up on the island and started killing the people in their sleep. Which, Battler did not want to happen, but, his resolution would have been everyone like, yeah, it was just a prank, we're fine. But then, she kind of, that's the problem playing a game. You don't know what the other player is going to do, but it's kind of like Dungeons and Dragons. Usually the game master might actually, be a player in the game too, but even though he can control his own character and he can control the game board, he doesn't control the actions. And sometimes people in Dungeons and Dragons, on very, very rare occasions, might, slightly murder hobo. I mean, technically that's kind of how you win most video games. It's like, how do you play Skyrim? Murder hobos. But basically, anytime that Battler tries to have a game, he sets up in a way to where, in any of the games Battler ever does, his attempt is always to have a game where either one, nobody dies, or they die in a way in which nobody was a bad person. That there was uncontrolled circumstance that was just extremely unfortunate and tragic. So at most, it's like either nobody dies, or, well, there was a tornado. It's very tragic, but it's an act of God, and it's not, your family members being evil and brutally murdering each other. So of course, this is my tale, and I'm the one making it. That's why I'm able to add in what-if situations. Like, what would happen if you came to the island too? See? You made this tale. It's all a pack of lies, a fiction you created. You're right. This is all a fiction I created. See? You've admitted it. You have, haven't you? Just like I thought. This is all a lie you made. Why are you lying to me? Why won't you tell me the truth? Because there's something I need you to understand. Something more important than the truth. Something more important than the truth. What the hell are you talking about? The purpose of my game is to make you understand that. Just as Beato's games were made to make Battler believe in witches, Battler's game was made to show Angie something that was more important than the truth. Games never bring about their intended ends by force. After all, Beato's game could never be won for all eternity unless Battler acknowledged witches on his own. Battler's game was the same.